He's a former Catholic priest suspected of sexually abusing more than 100 boys in the 70s and 80s. The I-Team discovered he spent the last 7 years living a secret life here in North Texas.
Investigative reporter Brian New is here tonight with evidence that appears to show this notorious pedophile, and he was trying to apparently still lure young men long after he was kicked out of the church.
Yeah, in September, former priest James Brzyski was found dead in a Fort Worth motel room. What the I-Team uncovered from evidence found inside that room and on disturbing social media accounts raises questions about what law enforcement and the Catholic Church did and didn't do to protect potential victims.
When a Fort Worth officer was called out to this motel on the south side of town, room 135, he walked in and found bags of pills, bottles of vodka, a laptop, thumb drives, and a cell phone, along with the body of 66-year-old James Brzyski. An autopsy revealed Brzyski was full of booze and narcotics. Mix that with heart disease, and his death was ruled an accident. Case closed. Fort Worth police says there was nothing further to investigate. But while Brzyski's death may have been an accident, the I-Team found the life he led to his very last days is worth investigating.
This man was a monster. This man was a monster.
John Delaney grew up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood in Philadelphia in the 1980s. At age 11, the new priest at the parish chose him to serve as an altar boy. But what was supposed to be an honor turned out to be hell.
As bad as you can possibly imagine it to be, that's what happened to me. It broke me as a kid. This guy raped me by the time I was 12 years old.
Decades later, when the Catholic Church scandal began to unfold, a grand jury investigation found James Brzyski sexually abused at least 17 victims, noting he may have abused as many as 100 boys, calling him on the grand jury report one of the archdiocese's most brutal abusers. But due to the statute of limitations, Brzyski eluded prosecution. He was kicked out of the church and allowed to seemingly vanish back into society.
It was swept under the rug.
After years living the life of a nomad, Brzyski made his way to Dallas in 2010. First moving into the southeast Dallas neighborhood where he roomed with a man who himself just years before was arrested for sexually assaulting a boy. Brzyski then lived at 2 other Dallas apartments, most recently on Park Lane in northeast Dallas, where the Philadelphia Inquirer snapped this picture 3 weeks before his death. The newspaper was working on a story about his Philadelphia victims committing suicide. Brzyski's neighbors say they knew nothing of his dark past. But what his Dallas neighbors did know is in 2014, a young man from Australia moved in with Brzyski. Not only did the two live together, but the I-Team found they got married in Oklahoma. Brzyski was 63 years old. His partner, according to their marriage license, was 21. Fights between the two brought police out to their Dallas apartment twice shortly after their marriage. One police report questions whether the Australian was in fact 21. The report lists him as 15 years old. Brzyski didn't mention the marriage, but did tell officers the two had met online. The I-Team found during Brzyski's time in Dallas, he connected with a lot of young men online. Using aliases like Joshua Williams, Brzyski had at least 7 social media accounts. Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter. His accounts were filled with pictures of overweight young men, some who appear to be boys, along with messages like this: "I'm a feeder in Dallas. I will fatten you without limit." Then giving his email and phone number.
Is he soliciting a child? Is he soliciting another adult to act like a child?
We showed Brzyski's social media accounts to Plano detective Jeff Rich. He says what caught his attention as someone who specializes in child exploitation is nearly all of Brzyski's online friends are young males.
I don't see a lot of adult activity on there. I see a certain type of individual that he's clearly seeking to be friends with, and those are typically more vulnerable types of our society.
Of all the pictures on Brzyski's social media accounts,
that's the one that has, just never sat right with me.
John Delaney says this one of a boy being fed through a funnel haunts him the most. He remembers seeing the painting in the priest's home as a child.
It represents to me that the man's, that he's a pedophile. He's attracted to children.
This is the foot of the grave, and up there is the head of the grave.
Even with Brzyski buried at a pauper's grave in Arlington, Delaney still fears there are unknown victims.
It's sickening to me that they allowed this to happen, and because of their keeping everything silent, it afforded him the opportunity to travel around the country and abuse more children.
So during his 7 years in Dallas, Dallas police officers made contact with Brzyski on at least 5 separate occasions, none of which related to any child sexual assaults. When the I-Team asked the Archdiocese of Philadelphia if it had ever warned the Dallas Police Department about Brzyski, the church wrote, appropriate steps are taken to notify local law enforcement of a change of address when a priest who had been defrocked due to substantiated allegations of sexual abuse of a minor changes residencies. But when we asked about Brzyski specifically, the church would not say, only telling us they became aware that he was in Dallas through news reports.
So talk to us a little bit about the Australian young man, which by the police report appears to be 15. Do you know anything about what happened to that person?
We found no records that the two had filed for a divorce, but it appears the two broke up just a few months after they were married. We located his family in Australia. Their attorney told us they didn't want to talk about the relationship, writing that Mr. Brzyski caused great harm and trauma to many people and, you know, potential victims. We want to make sure that they know about this, so that we have information about local child advocacy centers on our website at cbsdfw.com.
So often there could be people suffering in silence, and
Yes.
this is an opportunity to...
So we want to make sure those resources, and they know where they can get the help if needed.
All right, Brian New, thank you very much.
Important work. Thank you, Brian. And if you have any questions or tips for Brian or the rest of the CBS 11 I-Team, you can email them. The address is iteam@ktvt.com.